What's up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about Puck. Not only Puck, Thompson Puck, and how he snowballs this game and absolutely destroys with right-click Puck. So if you're interested in right-click Puck and other content and weird ideas, I recommend you check out the main gameleap website. I'm doing a lot of different things on 7.23. I'm going to be making a ton more random at 6K videos where I just talk about my own replays and just go over just odd games of Dota that I play that I find fascinating and want to provide value from. So in terms of starting item build for mid laners, it's something I've been looking at a bit lately. This seems to be the most common one, where you buy 2 circlets, one of your main primary attribute items, and then 2 iron branches. And overall, this is just pretty solid. I'm thinking that people are going to eventually start incorporating another Fairy Fire back in, because as you can see, he has 45 gold saved up, and Fairy Fire got reduced back down to 70 gold, meaning you can now buy a Fairy Fire with this item build. However, maybe he plans on upgrading it to a wand, but regardless, you're going to be eating one anyway, so it's not necessarily the direct reason. We'll see though. In terms of laning as Puck, I want to talk about a very strong strategy that will most likely be seeing Thompson use in this game, and that is pushing the wave with Orb. Now, what is the benefit? And I really want to explain this because I know I talk about it in other videos, but I don't fully explain it. What you do is you instantly kill the creep wave with any sort of AoE nuke, right? It's not like you cast it and the wave explodes. What I'm saying is you speed up the process. So what you'll see here is the range creep is dying, and what he does is he auto attacks and orbs to secure it. And I might be like, well, the only reason for that speed is obviously just to secure the creep. Not true. Actually, what he's doing is allowing himself to trade better earlier on, right? Simply because he has less creeps. In addition, it's going to push out the wave slowly, especially if he manages to orb again, which he most likely will be doing. So at this point, because of the original orb in combination with a bit of creep aggro, he now has more creeps than the Lina and will eventually be shoving it under her tower. He's actually doing a lot of creep aggro just so that he can last it a little bit better. Really good dodge of the Dragon Slave there. And in addition, I just like this playstyle because I think it's something that most players don't even consider, where it's like, okay, I'm going to push in the wave to the best of my ability. Obviously, Lina shoves it back, so it eventually evens out, even goes in Lina favor, because she simply uses more nukes. As you can see, her mana is significantly lower than Puck's. But overall, the main thing you want to be considering in the mid lane is what is my CS? Guys, I know I say this every single video, I feel like at this point, but until people get it, and I see every single Dota player with perfect CS, including myself, obviously, make sure you're using things like creep aggro and really just putting your mindset onto last hits, because the main thing that separates a lot of Ancient to Divine, or Divine to Immortal, or even just, Guardian to Archon, any of these differences in brackets, one of the main ones is simply just the ability to last it better, and you'll see this throughout the brackets. Quick hot take, I just want to say that I think raindrops are one of the most underrated items in Dota right now. The reason being that they now have 6 charges. It's not the only reason, I just think people generally forgot about raindrops as an item after they got changed, but even though they don't get built into Urn, they still give you 0.75 mana regen, which is frankly a lot. Like, that's a pretty big number, and you block 120 magical damage, right, for every instance over 50 damage. And obviously against Alina, basically every instance is going to be over 50 damage. And as a result, this is essentially over time going to save him 720 health, which is obviously the difference between living or not on a hero like Puck. Puck, similar to a hero like Timbersaw, is one that lives on very low HP in these early game scenarios due to his ability to kite in and out. Not always, right? Some situations he won't drop low at all, some he will. It changes, and that's the fact. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to live. You don't know if you're not. And as a result, I think buying raindrops as a kind of like a cushion or a safety blanket is a great play. And finally, I just want to mention this because I think it's important for you guys to see and kind of have a landmarker for when you're playing mid lane. He currently has 47 CS at the 8-minute mark, basically 50 by 8. I typically recommend players to try to get 50 by 10, and that's just going to show how good you can get at last hitting, right? Even the Lina has 50, right, by 8. The Legion in the offlane has 40, Tiny has 40. Some of the other players are struggling a little bit, right? That can be just the nature of the matchup, but it's certainly not their inability to last hit, which is, a big separation in these high MMR brackets, which for some reason don't think players understand. If you're trying to gain MMR, please focus on fundamentals if you actually care. So, huge point coming up here, guys. Really pay attention to this, because I find this more important than almost anything else when it comes to the mid lane. When you're trying to snowball, is it important to just gank 9 times out of 10 when the situation arises? No! You'll notice he actually spends an unbelievable amount of time just amping farm as Puck. You might be like, well, why would he do this? Puck is supposed to gank. Puck is a mid laner. Oh, this speed is just because, this is a high MMR game, so, the side lanes can help themselves. That makes no sense. The side lanes are still brawling. That's not what it is. It's simply because sometimes when you're trying to snowball, it's a lot more efficient to drag 2 camps together, which he does with his orb, right? Walks to the south side of the camp, orbs up, now uses the silence, and now once again orbs again to get even more damage, and so he's just amping his farm. That's it. In addition, he gets a jungle item. Keen Optic, one of the best possible items to get on Puck. Is that lucky? Yes, obviously, because there's no other way to determine whether or not you're going to get that item. But now he's level 9.5 to the 8 3/4 of Lina, which is clearly a lot better, right? He even got solo killed early on, to be frank. Sure, he ended up getting a kill on the Lina, but overall, he got solo killed and he's a level up. All I'm saying is when you're trying to snowball, especially if you do this in a low MMR pub, like anything below 4K, the reality is you're going to be so much higher level than everyone else, especially if you do it on a hero like Kunkka, who can do it faster than almost everyone else. You literally will just fly in terms of net worth, in terms of XP, and then when you show up to fights, it's like easy money. Woo! It's easy money. And that's sort of what he's doing here, but like, no joke, he actually just walks bottom. I don't fully understand the reason why. I guess it's to sort of secure this outpost that for some reason no one got on the enemy team. I feel like they definitely should have went for that. But overall, it's not necessarily a game of just running around and ganking all the time, because I know I've made videos on Topson when he's like, side lane kill, side lane kill, side lane kill, 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 kill. That depends on the team comp. It depends on a lot of things. And frankly, that's why I encourage all of you to watch pro replays so you can really try to figure these things out. Like, what are the team comps when are they ganking, right? How farmed are they by X minute? And try to just copy it. You'll actually notice you'll have a lot more success. And yeah, I honestly just find this hilarious. He's using the phase shift to actually flash farm right now. And what I mean by phase shift is phase shift attack. You currently now get this at level 10. If you guys don't understand what it is, because you haven't seen a lot of puck of late, basically when you cast phase shift, you shoot at an auto attack everything in its AoE, which is pretty impressive. It's actually really good for clearing waves. And overall, I think it's just a super strong talent that he, funny enough, builds around this game with his Desolator. And as you can see, his team is obviously snowballing quite hard. And I want to make it clear that I think if Topson is playing his typical game and doesn't have this odd game plan in mind, he guaranteed would be showing up to occasional fights, because that's typically how he plays, right? However, there are different ways to snowball in Dota. There's other ways to carry your team. Do you think he's 3k net worth up just because his side lanes won? I think it's part of it. I do think it's part of it. His side lanes are winning, but look at this. He's 500 up on mid, and he's 5.4k net worth at 12 minutes, which is frankly extremely high, right? And that just goes to show, don't always assume just because you watch one style of Dota that it's always correct. You can always come up with your own style of Dota as long as it's relatively efficient in some regard. As long as it's efficient in terms of ganking or efficient in terms of last hits. Now, I typically recommend the in-between, but all I'm saying is, like, you'll notice he's literally just flash farming. He's flash farming. As Puck. He has not ganked once, and yet he wins this game in 31 minutes. It's not by chance. And now I don't want to ruin I don't want to ruin anyone's pubs with this item build. I feel like people are going to start trying this like null talisman kinoptic deso Puck build. What I will say is be very careful. Do I think this is the best possible item build? I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings, because it has the issue of not giving you a particularly large amount of mobility. However, Puck's changes to his silence basically enables him to do that, and as a result, he's kiting very in and out of these fights. You can see, if we really approach this, let's look how he takes this fight, because frankly, it's on another level to some extent, how he actually kites in and out with this Deso build, because if you go this Deso build and you don't have good mechanics, the ability to judge when you should kite in and out, you're just going to die, because you have no blink, you don't have good stats, and let's look at it, right? So he's going to initiate the fight onto the Razor with his Dream Coil, get a quick little phase shift attacks in, only because he didn't feel like he had to actually save it for any incoming stun. I mean, none of these heroes have direct stuns, so he's quite safe in this game. Although he's kiting out, right? His orb was intentionally up, and his silence was intentionally to the left, right? This is not by chance, guys. It's not by chance. He silenced to the left because the opponents were on the right, and now he orbs up because he knew they would eventually come in. Overall, now he's kiting back in. He saw the Tiny coming, so he used phase shift attack to hit the Tiny, and he's basically only going around his spells. Why would he jaunt here? Because this is typically a psycho jaunt into multiple heroes with no blink dagger. The thing is, he has his silence coming up, right? His silence is coming up, and as a result, he understands that he can now silence both of the Io and the Razor, which allows him to kite out. Right? And now, once again, he can move to the side. Again, finding the Dazzle. You see how he's splitting these fights? That's insane damage, actually. That's so nuts. But you see how he's splitting the fights simply with the direction he uses his spells? He doesn't just hit people with silence, and he doesn't just hit people with orb. He intentionally sends them specific directions to actually keep himself alive, which is why he can go a greedy item build like this. If you can't do that, I do not recommend this item build. I highly recommend you buy things like Veil, Blink, Dagon, easier to use item builds. But really, in this clip, you can clearly see the pure DPS of this Puck build, right? So he's going to lead in here, gets in an auto attack before he casts his spells, because that's efficient in terms of just overall auto attacking, right? If you want to maximize your DPS on any hero, typically what you want to do is you auto attack, you cast your nuke, and then you auto attack. And that's what he's doing here. Auto attacks, silences, right? Auto attacks, because he has no spells, obviously, and now at this point he's just going to keep going. But you saw that Lina was actually about to be able to get out of Dream Coil. If he didn't do that perfect casting, where he basically, hits spells, he actually wouldn't have gotten the kill most likely. And as a result, I just think it's important to pay attention to that. It's basically like attack moving, but just with spells. And guys, you might look at this pub and you're like, Speed, why did you pick some low MMR game with trash players that Thompson's just running over? Because you're like, oh, these guys are so bad, they're not even dealing with them at all. No, a lot of it's actually his movement and ability to play around his team to some extent. But if you look at the ranks here, this is a lot of Immortals. This is no joke of a game, right? Is it lopsided a little bit? It seems like it, but it's one of those things, there's a reason why he's this rank. It's not just because, you know, he has good teammates. And then, funny enough, he gets this M-Claw, which is just absolutely insane. I mean, he's already hitting for hard enough, and now he picks up an M-Claw, which is gonna allow him to crit, and then he goes for a Crystallis. Guys, I'm sorry about your pubs. I genuinely apologize if anyone does this and feeds. However, I do think there's a lot of viability in it at the same time if the puck player is good enough. But once again, disclaimer, if you're not good at puck, please try this in unranked before ranked, at least. Right, look at this damage, guys. Look at this damage. Coming in with the haste, coming around the side. This is really good for puck also, by the way, when you can come in like 10 to 5 seconds late into the fight because it allows you to just hit 4 people with your silence and then doof, look at that damage. Holy, I gotta go in free camera for that. I gotta go in free camera. Look at this. Look at this. Zooming over. Zoom out. Slightly zoom in. Orb in. Misses the orb. Not great, right? Silence onto 4. Great positioning. Oh. Oh my lord. Even the Lina is like 1 HP crit. Oh, he didn't get a crit. If he got a crit, she dies. Oh, he wanted it. Look at this. Because, look at this combo, okay? When he goes on the Razor, he makes sure, once again, intervaling his auto attacks, which is very important. So, right, look at the execution. Orb, phase shift for the attack, and then auto, right? Then he jaunts to the orb. Beautiful. Perfect execution. Literally can't get much better than that, if at all. And now he's just auto attacking. I mean, I can't say too much about that. He's just kind of like hitting the guy and using phase shift. But yeah, I really love seeing this. I just think it's such a cool way to play Dota. Oh my god, oh my god. Good lord, he's just styling on him. He's really making him feel bad at this point. Oh my gosh, and his team even gave him a Grove bow. This is gonna be insane. It also reduces the magical resistance of the enemy's attacks. So like, it's like basically a veil with his phase shift attacks. This item is insane on this new puck, actually. It's super, super good. So hopefully you guys are kind of getting the gist of right-click puck. It's very important to push in creep waves and actually amp your farm in the jungle. When you go this item build, you can basically just use your phase shift to farm, which is really nice because you won't have any mana problems. And that's why he has 214 CS in 21 minutes in a game where he has been relatively active throughout the mid-game. Early game, obviously not. That's where he got the majority of his CS. But mid-game, still pushing in waves and still killing jungle camps on his way there, right? So he cuts the mid-wave. He's like, all right, I can hit the mid-tower a little bit. Then after he hits the mid-tower, he's going to kill a camp casually, right? Then he can kill the next camp. And that's really what I want to show to people. They don't get this, or they don't do this. When you're playing mid lane and you're trying to be efficient and you're walking around, please just flash farm the camps. But really, you want to make sure you're just strictly being efficient. Just don't waste time. I've had to explain this to many of my students where it's like, one of the main goals of Dota is just to waste as little time as possible. The more you're walking around, no matter what role you're playing, probably the worse you're doing. I'm not saying that's an exact measure. You could be just trying to smoke or something like that and set it up or move around the map. 9 times out of 10, especially in pubs, please stop wasting time, even if you're a support. And that's going to be about it for the video. We're going to watch one more fight, recap it, and then head on out. But as you can see here, when you're going high ground, don't want to overcommit, guys, right? You know, you're not going to go too crazy. That's usually the goal. But as you can see, he now has an Octarine core, and the strength of Octarine core, as we quickly talk about the talents, is really your ability to just have more phase shifts. It basically means you can be in phase shift 75% of the time, and if you have an Arcane Rune, it's 100% of the time. And for talents, you obviously want to take phase shift attacks. We've went over that. 90 damage. You have a 90 damage talent, which is one of the reasons why this is strong, right? Your hero legitimately is one of the fastest farmers in Dota because it can instant kill waves when you have your maxed out nukes, at least in the early game. And then you get a 90 damage talent. In addition, he also took the 50 Illusory Orb distance and speed, which I can respect, but I actually really think the Waning Rift cooldown is also extremely good, because apparently with the Octarine core, Waning Rift is a 9.75 cooldown, and the talent is minus 9 seconds Waning Rift cooldown. Some puck spammer tell me if I'm wrong, but like, doesn't that just make it a 0.75 cooldown? Or is the cooldown reduction after? Regardless, it seems insane to me just because this is mobility now, so it's much better than the old silence, making this talent obviously far better. But yeah, I mean, not too much to talk about. At this point in the game, he's literally just killing anyone who shows on the map. Goes on the IO here, unfortunately. Gets graved. Well played by the Dazzle. But then he goes in. Like, look at this poor Dazzle. My man is just... He didn't even get hit by any spells. No one even auto-attacked him. He just gets hit by a phase shift attack. You know, he's just chilling in the back. He pops his pipe, being a diligent support. He's like, oh, shit. I don't know why this is so funny to me, but this build is just like... It's like genuinely hilarious. Oh my god, he has an Arcane Rune. You guys can see the power of this. His phase shift is literally infa. You have infinite phase shift. You actually can't be touched. He's going to try to do it, I bet you. Come on. Do it. Oh, he's baiting it too. Oh my god, it got purged. No! No, I wanted to see the infinite phase shift. But yeah, guys, if you have the phase shift attacks and an Octarine Core, as well as an Arcane Rune, you actually can just infinite kill people if they stay on top of you, because you literally stay out of the game. You're just like not in the game. And just to clean things up, I want to give another little quick puck tip for all you puck players. In the mid and late game, just because now your Waning Rift gives him ability, you don't actually always want to commit Orb. So here he goes for the Coil, then he goes for the Silence, and you might be like, well, why isn't he Orbing? Because it gives him an option to actually go out, right, if he needed to. He could Orb out here. In this situation, he didn't have to, but he is able to save it for now, right? And he can initiate back on the side. So really, I just like how he kind of separates the usage of the Waning Rift and the Orb in the mid and / late game here. Obviously, it's 29 minutes in, so it's more so late game. But that kind of split of spells is a really good way to actually kite in and out, especially when you don't have Aegis. He could be a little bit more reckless, frankly. He just has such good habits that he frankly just does it anyway. And the last little thing, phase shift actually hits buildings. So yeah, if you get an Arcane Rune, you can actually just take the racks without showing on the map. As long as you have an Octarine Core, you can siege high ground as puck with it. So in the late game, you want to buy a blink, you get an Arcane Rune, you bottle it up, you go into the high ground, and you just start clicking phase shift. And you literally will take their racks, and there's absolutely zero anyone can do about it, because you're just not in the game. It's absolutely insane, and yes, I do think Puck is one of the most gimmicky heroes right now that has options like this. And that's why I want to make a video on it, guys. Frankly, you could play Puck and take a lot of the things I was saying about Puck and just apply it to magical damage Puck as well, because frankly, this hero is very versatile, has a lot of different options, and as a result, I'm recommending it here today. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please don't like and subscribe to help our channel grow, and of course, I'll see you in the next one. But yeah, really do like it. Because I like you. Thanks. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys. 25%, and start your journey today.